Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. Today, Stranger Things returns with the fourth season in its biggest season yet, with longer, almost feature-length like episodes. The show has never really felt bigger, arguably maybe also a bit crowded. We'll get into that in our spoiler review. So without further ado, let's jump into our spoiler review for Stranger Things Season 4. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yeah.
In 4K.
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera. I want to say that season 1, if you probably go back and rewatch it, is super slow. But here's the thing. That was meant to be spooky and scary. And I think that that really got people into it. Because I do remember being a little bit on edge with the first season. I thought that they really built that tension quite well up until you see the Demogorgon, and then you lose scariness because you see the monster. But hey, you know what? I don't care. I still really enjoyed the first season. Season 2, lame, don't like it, never will. I think season 3 is a return to form with storytelling, and I think that now that they had the budget, season 4 has been the best season so far, and I think that's okay that they went away from the scares because they have built this cast of excellent child actors who have evolved to these characters and have done an excellent job with it, and also with returning adult actors, Hopper, all of these returning adult actors that are doing a great job as well. I just found that season 4 has been the best overall when it comes to the storytelling side of things. So I would say the first thing we should quickly address, because it's something that I've seen a bit more recent, is especially with those shows that release the whole season, which is kind of a dying thing, but some shows still do it. The separation of the last episodes into its own little release after it released a couple weeks prior in June. It released about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later in July 1st, the last episodes. What do you think about TV shows releasing like that?
I think Netflix is definitely testing the ground to not drop it all in one go, because as they kind of have to, I guess, go a bit more thin with their prime time, ironically called prime time entertainment, that doesn't last, and doesn't create a big conversation unless it is the Stranger Things, and then it stays in the zeitgeist for a very short period of time and people are very engaged with it, and it's like the biggest show of all time that they had on the platform, but then it just goes away again. And if you can extend that over a longer period of time, I think it also means subscribers are staying on for longer. I definitely see the return of the weekly release schedule for these shows returning. And if you compare it to some other shows, like, for example, The Boys, where they drop, instead of dropping just the one episode at the start, they drop like 2 or maybe even 3 in some cases, and then it goes to weekly. So you have that initial binge that you can have engaged with the show. It's not just a setup, for you to return, and then you stay engaged week by week with the thing. And I think that's the most organic solution to this new model of like a very overcrowded space for series. And I just assume that Netflix is gonna also go down that road when it comes to their programming.
I mean, my thoughts are, why release the whole season and only get people who aren't subscribed to Netflix but only for Stranger Things to pay for 1 month, when if you stretch it out by a month, they'll pay for two months. So they have to be subscribed a little bit
if you
longer.
password share, Netflix will put you into the upside down.
And then, they've paid for this service, so they're also going to quickly look and see what's available on Netflix, and it's probably going to get people in. But my thoughts are obviously that they pushed it back because there is a number of visual effects that were not completed for the last episode, which apparently they uploaded it, I think it was 9 hours before the launch. So when you first watched the original, if you watched it day dot, you're actually watching not the final cut of the episode. You're watching one of the pre-release ones, apparently. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I heard that. That was crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Cutting
but
it close.
We should probably get into the actual season 4. So 3-way split. We've got the West Coast, which is where Mike and Eleven and Jonathan and Argyle. East Coast of Hawkins, and then you've got Motherland as a plot point. with
Yeah.
the. By the way, this is a full spoiler talk.
Oh yeah, I
Of
think we said that at
Stranger
the start.
Things. Cool.
Hmm.
Because I'm just gonna make sure I don't want people to get pissed at me. Where Hopper is broken out of prison by Joyce
Yeah.
and the other dude whose name's not coming to my head.
He's some Russian dude. I would also just say one, like he's the Russian friend, and the other one's the not so friendly Russian.
Russian friend and
Um,
American friends, and 2 Russian friends, I guess.
True, yeah.
Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think maybe with the characters that are the most essential for this season, and I think the MVP of this season as a whole is definitely Max, right?
Eddie. Oh,
Yeah, maybe Eddie. I've seen a lot of people really love his character. He didn't really grow on me that much. I feel like they were really trying to, make us connect with him and then rip it away from us, so we don't really notice that he's
sure.
kind of a red shirt. Red shirt, the people who are just set up characters to then be killed off. I think we'll get into that later with the deaths and like the setup and everything. But I think Max was the MVP of this whole season.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
And just the performance from Sadie Sink, who plays Max, is just outstanding. I think, they were really lucky that a lot of these, I wouldn't say everyone, but a lot of these child actors are actually quite good at it, that they could keep it going. And like the same bet that they had to make with Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson for Harry Potter, they kind of have to make the same bet for these Stranger Things kids who kind of grow up as the show progresses. And I think Sadie Sink was definitely a great addition to the cast that kind of carries it. And some other people who I would say aren't like the greatest, I kind of put a bit more on the back burner this season, and I didn't really mind. I think that was a great choice to focus on her a bunch. And yeah, I think her storyline was definitely the one that I was the most engaged with and most interested in.
I guess Argyle is the MVP, really. Without him, the whole season would have fallen apart. I'm fucking kidding. I do agree with the Max being the MVP. Now that you've mentioned it, Sadie Sink did an awesome performance, and I do think her character had a wicked, I guess, story that continues on from season 3, because I found that her story in season 3 was probably is actually quite strong. And I guess it follows through on here with her becoming Vecna's chosen one to be the opening of the gaping upside down
upside down hole, the gates.
Yeah, the X marks the spot that Vecna left on Earth. So I do agree. I also think that Hopper should get a shout out, because I'm just going to jump straight into my favorite moment in this entire series, which is in the last episode, because let's just say 2.5 hours is a lot of. What do you think it is? What do you think my favorite moment in this entire series is?
It would probably also be mine, because kind of like a callback with the door being like a tiny bit open and then reuniting, I assume.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's the part where he gets the sword and it's the fucking like him cutting the Demogorgon.
Never mind.
Come on, you can't tell me that's the coolest.
I'm projecting.
Okay. So
that was a sweet moment.
The montage moment is the best moment in this entire series. It's the perfect use of Katie Hill. Is it Kate Hill's song? Running up that hill. It is the perfect accumulation of all of these plot points where you have Hopper defeating a Demogorgon. You have the fucking sword is the Conan the Barbarian sword. The Molotov being thrown at Vecna by Stephen Nancy and Ethan Hawke's daughter, Maya Hawke, whose name I don't know.
Robin.
Sorry. Robin, that's
See,
it.
I think, look, I don't want to cut this out, because usually we would cut around this, but I'm keeping it in just in this instance because there's a lot of characters on the show.
There's a lot of characters.
I think there's a big critique, and having your favorite moment being that sick action thing, I just would love to see like an impactful death on this show. I think they're definitely prolonging this.
I thought they were really going to kill off Steve.
Yeah, it felt like that for a moment, that one of those people would be killed off, and Steve made the most sense, because his is like they're on an hopeful upswing, and that's what like usually where you yoink the carpet right out from under us and bring us down to earth. But it didn't do that, so I don't know. I guess they're saving it for the last season. Honestly, this gives me a bit of Game of Thrones vibes, if I'm being totally honest. But like, this is maybe season 5 and 6 of that show, and then 7 and 8 where they completely butcher it, where we might be leading. I'm a bit more hopeful for Stranger Things, but like where they want to do a bunch of stuff in that final season. And this is definitely a bit of an in-between season where it basically sets off this final standoff and establishes the big bad all along.
I don't know, because I think they could have wrapped up everything here and now.
They
The
could have,
only
yeah.
thing that's like, they could have wrapped it up, but I think what happened was they probably got told they're doing a 5th season. They were like, all right, cool, let's make some loose ends to keep it going, because
Yeah.
they could have easily killed off Max. That is a death that could have happened. They could have killed off Steve. That would have been a death that would have happened that left an impact, but they saved the day with 1, sacrificing themselves with Vecna, and 2, Steve getting this hero's death.
Yeah.
And I guess Eddie could have died as well with the him being set up and only being introduced in this season. You could have had Hopper,
a death from every
at least
group.
someone. Yeah, exactly. You totally could.
Yeah.
And you could have wrapped it up nice and neat, all clean, and series over. But they must have been told, hey, look, we're going to do one more season. They're like, fuck, we just spent all this money on this season. How are we going to pull out a story out of our ass now? With a couple of changes, this is a extremely strong final season, which is kind of good because it also makes for a very strong season in general.
Yeah, I agree. I think where I land way more positive on the first half of the season over the last 2 episodes, because I feel like that just being with the characters, and like the thing that they cut off at the end of episode 7, where they kind of unveil all the Vecna stuff. We agreed when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show that was like the weaker aspects of it. I think we were saying it was a bit too much, how far it went back into the backstory, and it was a bit overloaded. I love the stakes that they create in those last 2 episodes. They are amazing. There's some amazing moments there, but I think it would have been like way better if there was like at least one major character that could kind of got ripped away from us.
Yeah,
maybe that's why I land less positive, because I feel like there was a setup for that and we didn't really get that. And I think the setup part was done very well. One other thing that I want to get in is the editing in the show. I've never really noticed it that much with the first 3 seasons, but it is amazing. The way that they use sound to transition over, it's like subtle little things in the background that kind of just like give it the certain bit of energy that even though you're watching a 90-minute long episode, it feels like the pacing is great. And I think there's like scenes that are too much, storylines that we could cut down, but still the strongest thing out of all of the show, I think, is the editing. It really comes together there.
I completely agree. I mean, for $30 million per episode, you expect they picked a fucking good editor and a good sound mixer.
I mean, if you think about it, if there's like it's a 90-minute long movie for $30 million, isn't really that much, It's pretty much on that same level.
I would say the only time I felt that the editing didn't feel as clean is the last episode. I do feel like there was just a little bit too much
cutting around,
time spent in different places. It just didn't feel as coherent as what previous episodes did. But again, they've never cut a 2.5-hour version of Stranger Things before, so it was a first for them. So I don't blame it being perfect. It's not perfect. But that's just me nitpicking, because I found that the last episode was entertaining and impactful enough for me to actually enjoy it. The one thing I will say is that I guess 11 does feel like she's on the back burner for for that last part of the first part of the episode, and then she kind of jumps into it. But it kind of feels like it's gone from this one unique girl. They've kind of expanded the world to have these more kids, and I guess that's now the world that they're set in, and then you've got the Upside Down. But for me, I found that Stranger Things just this season, again, too many characters, jumps around too much. They could have streamlined it down a little bit. Like, you don't necessarily need to have Argyle show up. He is just kind of the stoner relief character, and I guess they try to get Jonathan to be the stoner as well, like how they partnered him up, that he's the stoner and this Argyle guy comes in and he's the stoner funny comedy dude. But
I guess he kind of needed that because they completely sidelined him otherwise, because they wanted that Nancy Steve pairing again. And if he hadn't had anyone apart from that moment that he has with Will, which is great with his little brother, I think that moment is the only moment we kind of get from him this season that is of any sort of substance, and otherwise he's just like the tag along, 420 blazing dude, ha ha ha. So yeah, I think they definitely use all of the characters. That's why like it doesn't feel bloated, like I said, because of the editing, but it definitely is kind of bloated. You just don't notice it because the editing is so good, I would say.
Yeah.
And touching on 11, I think her storyline beyond season 1, there's not much more that you could explore with that character. I think we got pretty much everything. So it's kind of a repeat, and she needs to be Professor X, where she's like out of commission for a while.
Yeah.
Because she's always the solution to the problem, which I found now really interesting. That did you get the vibe that Max potentially has powers now as well?
No.
I saw some fan theories of where I got that from. Because like I didn't think that initially when I watched the episode, but I saw some things pop up from there, which I think would be something that is super interesting. But it feels like it would just replace Millie Bobby Brown with someone who's a bit like better at acting, to be frank.
Ooh.
And would be super
Someone's seen
interesting
Enola
if
Holmes.
like hey, she's very charismatic and talks to the camera. But speaking, I guess, of the next season, we'll definitely get like a big battle or whatever. Is there any specific character that you would kind of want to see die? No, wanna have like an epic conclusion to their story?
Steve. I
Steve?
think that one of the reasons I've gone back is I really like Steve's character. I would like I like obviously Hopper. Hopper and Steve are like my two little I really do enjoy them. I guess there's not really one of those kind of characters in the core group of friends. I guess other than Max, I would actually consider Max probably. No, you know what? Yeah, Max. Max is the Hopper of that group and the Steve of
Yeah.
that group in that little small friend group. She's obviously
Mhm.
sidelined. I'd like to see Lucas come out a little bit more because that
Oh yeah.
little so Lucas didn't really have much of a impact or a lot of acting in at least uh, emotional acting in this series in this season, I
Mhm.
should say. But that moment where
Oh,
he
wicked, so
transitions,
good.
that is a phenomenal. And I was like, where has he
Amazing
been this
performance.
entire season? Like all of
Well,
us,
he's a great actor.
for those few lines, I was like, you know what? Excellent. Well, I mean, I don't really want to see Steve die, but I just found that his character arc has definitely come to a point where he could die, because
Yeah.
it would have been a bittersweet where he confesses his love to Nancy and then he sacrifices himself. And again, it's probably coming down to the fact that Duffer Brothers making the season, that they're doing this stuff, and then Mr. Netflix comes up and says, "We want more money, so we're going to give you more money to make another season." And they're like, "But we've wrapped it up so well." And they go, "We don't care. We want more money. We're going to give you more money." So they have to then change this season because I think Max and Steve are probably the two characters that we could have easily seen a death coming. And within
Yeah.
a shot or two, you didn't like 11 doesn't have to revive Max. She's dead. Season ended. And they could have just
Mhm.
killed off. Obviously, all of the upside down stuff is a lot of VFX heavy. So that was probably some of the last stuff that was done. Or it could be
Yeah, yeah.
earlier because they need more VFX work. But it's something that could easily be cut and he's dead. So I find
Mhm.
those two characters, they could die and it's probably a good enough story. But again, season 5 could be, okay, we're going to focus on Jonathan, who has no story arc in season 4. It's going to be
Yeah. Will.
Chrissy, of all people. They'll focus on Chrissy.
Chrissy.
The dead Chrissy
Chrissy's
body.
dead.
It could just be random. Like, it could just
Chrissy, wake up!
Chrissy,
Is
wake
that-
up. It literally could just be Jonathan and Argyle. They could just focus on Jonathan and
Yeah.
Argyle for the entirety of
Would be
season
a
5.
crazy pivot.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And
Just,
I don't know,
just ride
Will.
Millie Bobby Brown entirely out of the show. I think Will, when you look closely in the back, I think his nose starts to bleed. So, and he notices some stuff as well. So I think Will be another bigger
Now that
part
he's
of
back in
season 5.
Hawkins, Will is going to take more of an
Yeah.
impact in the story. 100%.
Mhm.
100%. I agree with that.
Over just being subtly gay, that's more of a storyline than I guess that kind of looking at Mike the
Yeah.
whole time. That was basically all he was doing this season.
I thought that painting was going to be something completely different.
Imagine the next upside down monster is some different kind of upside down monster.
Yeah, I have a reliable news source telling me that the
Mhm.
Duffer Brothers, the reliable news source is pretty sure that the Duffer
Yeah.
Brothers are not going to confirm or deny Will's sexuality.
Why?
Hang on, it went like this. Why does it matter? That's what the Duffer Brothers did. But imagine two.
Oh,
episodes.
okay.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Okay. So my reliable source, he's not 100% sure if it's a completely reliable source, says the Duff brothers are not going to confirm or deny. Anyway.
But yeah, Lachlan, where do you arrive at as a rating for season 4 of Stranger Things?
I guess the overall season, I'm going to give it a 8 was pretty much where I'd lie at. Why you just give me
It's a 4 out of 5. You usually go a 4 out of 5, but now you're switching the whole thing and saying like an 8 out of 10.
Letterboxd is just movies.
What
it's
is
not
happening?
TV shows unless it's a one-season
That
TV
is
show.
true.
So I'm now on
So
IMDb.
for TV shows, we do it out of 10. That's
Yeah.
totally fair. Yeah. For me as well, 8 out of 10.
I would give it an 8 out of 10 or a 4 out of 5. In all honesty, I want to give that final episode a 10.
And you can do that on IMDb. Letterboxd,
can.
you need some. I got some catching up to do. You can't even log Stranger Things there and share your thoughts on it. So, yeah, 10 out of 10.
It's right.
For you.
They're too
Crazy.
busy. They're too busy changing emojis into like different.
What would it
ratings.
even be? What would the
Stranger
fire
Things?
emoji equivalent be for Stranger Things? Maybe a new Coke.
Yeah.
But yeah, same rating for us as a whole. 8 out of 10. Really worth your time. And arguably the best season of Stranger Things.
8? Well, why does your thing say
Yeah.
7 on the thing? Are you changing it? Is this a live update?
The horrors.
I'm not trying to call
of
you out,
having
but
leaked.
you wrote 7 and now
No,
you're
no, no.
saying 8.
I'm just going along with the flow.
Maybe I should not go first because you're just going to copy my answers. If you're at least going to copy my answers, change it a little bit, like a 7.5 or an 8.5.
7.75.
All right, cool. Okay, cool.
It's not entirely there on an 8 yet.
Would you rather 8 1-hour-long episodes, or would you rather 4 2.5-hour-long episodes?
Depends on the release schedule of the show. I think I would rather have like a month of Stranger Things. Each week, a 2.5-hour long movie.
I would rather a weekly release for the last season, yeah.
If it's a weekly release with 1 hour shows, might be a bit slow for like the pacing that people are used to with Stranger Things. So
yeah, I guess people just binge it in one sitting.
Yeah, I think they definitely would be better off having longer episodes. I think it kind of works, and it doesn't. Again, the editing kind of makes it come together, so it doesn't feel like a drag, even though the episodes are long.
Is it Max or is it Eddie who is the MVP of this season? And are you excited for the next season of Stranger Things, which could be the last, but Netflix might just want more money and change their mind. So let us know in the comments down below, and that's going to bring us to the end of our Stranger Things Season 4 review. Please consider subscribing, as each week or each Monday we release our main episode of the Quiet on Set podcast. This week we'll be covering the new Russo brothers film, The Grey Man, and we've also got a little mini review coming out on The Boys Season 3.
Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you on Monday.